Hey, we're live, folks. Welcome to the pre-show of the Intrepid radio program. Ellie wants to be here. She crawled into my lap and got all in the way of everything I was doing. It's like, hold on, take your hands out of there. Let me get my buttons pushed. So what are you doing? How are you? Is that all you're going to do? Huh? Is that all you're going to do? Hi, folks. Here, let me get my things put together. You got to go? All right. Hi, bro. You need my help now that I've turned on the radio? Oh, okay. Get down. Say bye to the people. All right, everybody. I think we're all... That's not going to splash all over. What is this? Mundet. Artificially flavored apple soda. Well, at least it's artificial. Thank goodness, huh? All right. No, I don't. I love you. Bye. Shut that door. All right, folks. If you think this is the show and you're new here, it's not the show yet. This is just the prelude to the show. And to make sure all my junk is going, all my stuff is on. You have to pardon my voice tonight. I'm still a little voice sketchy. Oh, Uncle Dave said hi. Sorry, Uncle Dave. So, yeah, she was mimicking Daddy Leslie. So, hey, Susie Q. Hi, bye. LOL. So, hey to everybody sitting over there in the chat room. We're going to start talking about a fun. Is fun the good thing to use for that? Interesting topic tonight. It'll be more than tonight. Tonight and tomorrow night, maybe. We'll cover some stuff. I know we're not going to do it in 50 minutes, so. Oh, Flynn's Pokemon Tumblr. There you go. All right. We've got less than 2 minutes, and we go live. I wish I had this timbre to my voice all the time. You know, a tenor like me, we like it when we feel like we have timbre. So, I do need some honey for my throat. I got some today. As a matter of fact, we've got honey here, but, you know, if your household is like our household, you pull out the honey didn't we just buy honey? And you pull the honey thing out, and it's the shape of a bear. Usually, we don't have the good stuff. And it's all crystallized. It's like, well, what do you do with that? That's been sitting there for a while. So you put it in the microwave and you try to melt that all down a little bit, or you put it in boiling water. You set it in boiling water for a few minutes. Loosens that stuff up. Master Finn, welcome. Good to see you, brother. And so, welcome to my post-COVID life. And just the remnants all jungling around in my... oh, look at that. My thing started all by itself. That's nice. It's all automated now. I got it all automatically set up. So we're good. So now we got to go dark, and we're going to go live. Stand by.
Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Hey there, Barbie girl, walking down the street so fancy, girl. Somebody's reminded me of that song in the chat room, saying hi to Barbie D. Hi, Barbie D, over in the chat room. And anybody else who's in the chat room, welcome. Good to see you. You know, that song is one of those. Look at me. I'm a pubescent male again. Oh, gosh. Do you think we should go down and get some pizza? Remnants of COVID over here. Still playing havoc on my throat and my voice. But you remember that song? That's one of those songs I remember from my youth. Before my youth, when I was a kid. My mom would play the radio all day in the early to mid 60s in the house. She was a stay-at-home mom, and with my stepdad was off to work. He was old world Ukrainian, and woman doesn't work outside the home in the old world. And of course, this was also the 1960s, so she was home all the time, and I heard all those songs. So it's good to have you all here over in the chat room. Welcome, everybody else. If you have tuned in, this is the Intrepid radio program, and I'm your host, Scotty Roberts. This is my show, and you can hear it over on Odyssey Radio, ODYSY radio.com. Go on over, see all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio. Also, 4 different places you can tune in the video simulcast. 3 of them on YouTube. I'm sorry, on Facebook. My Facebook page, Odyssey Radio Facebook page, and Intrepid Radio Facebook page. And, of course, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And that's where the main chat room is. That's where I'll be, even though my chats will port over to all the Facebook pages. And I'll see most of what's said over in the Facebook pages. And so I want to welcome you here. If you're new to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button if you are not already subscribed, and like this episode. If you would, even now, while you're sitting here looking at it, hit the like button, the thumbs up. Hey. And I wish I could do that and have my tooth shine. Hey, ding. Hit that. That helps my numbers over on YouTube. It's a YouTube thing. It's a you're here thing. It's a your show's getting hits thing. So go over and hit the like button. That's why everybody on other channels goes, go hit the smash the like button. So go ahead and do that as well. I would appreciate that. And if you are not already joined as a member of the channel, not just a subscriber, but a member, hit the little join button down below, and it'll give you 3 ways you can become a member. Boom, that's it. Let's move on to some other things. I want to ask you, are you, let me read this and see what you think of this. Let's see, what's the best one to read? Right here. I think this is probably good. And we're now living during the final years of the sixth seal, so says some people. And I put it that way as a source because there's no one single definitive source that says that. There are people that believe we are living in the final years of the sixth seal out of the book of Revelation. And it's not Revelations, it's Revelation, the book of the Revelation. That 1,000-year period, which began in 1000 AD, so they say, and will continue through the Saturday night. Listen, through the Saturday night of the time and until just before the sabbatical era, when Christ shall reign personally on earth, when all of the blessings of the great millennium shall be poured out on the earth. Now, that's pretty specific. Whoever wrote that piece is probably, well, obviously, and speaking of the rapture, you've heard of the rapture, at least in one form or another, probably a post-millennialist speaking there, saying that we're already in the tribulation. We're already in. And all of this is biblical prophecy. The prophecies of the end times. Eschatology, it's called. Well, this particularly came to my mind. So I was having a conversation with Jeremy Hansen today. And Jeremy said, you ought to do a show on this whole thing about the demons, the 4 demons beneath the Euphrates River. And I thought, well, I know what this is about, but and I hadn't thought of it in context to that being the period of time where we are now. And so according to some biblical scholars, I don't even know if it's scholars as much as it's those who follow the archaeology, the eschatology of the Bible, would say we're living in the end times. They look at the world around us and say, surely Armageddon is right around the corner. Look at the planet right now. Everything's falling apart. These would be people that would say, look at the environmental horrors that we're in the middle of right now. Look at the political horrors. Look at everything that's going on in the world. And I used to say, this is just another period of time. We've been through horrors before politically. But when you step back and think about it for a second, you do say the difference nowadays is that it has never been on as broad a scale as we're seeing now. We've never seen so much earthly chaos and know about the earthly chaos going on as we do right now. And so I can see how some would think this might be the end times if you are a believer in the end times. I used to be a very firm believer in the end times. As a matter of fact, back in the 1970s, when I was in high school, I went to a church high school. I also went a religious high school. I went to a church youth group. I eventually went on from there to churches, Bible college and seminary. And our way of thinking was, yeah, we're in the end times already. Look at the world's stage is set. We would say, look at the horribleness of the world around us. And that was back in the 70s, where compared to now, it seems like nothing was going on. And of course, that was a generation ago. That was 40, 50 years ago already. And so there are certain things that people look at and say, Jeremy Hansen says, I'm a believer. And Jeremy, I would ask you, in what way are you a believer? Do you have a certain denominational mode that you follow? Because I know even the biblical mode, there's several different ways to interpret the end times and what's going on right now. And so Jeremy this morning, and say hi to him, he's over in the chat room, he had posted this question to me. And so I just had to do a little brush up on certain things. And I was looking into it. And so there are some that say, like what I read at the very beginning, that think we're now right in the middle, smack in the middle of the final years of the sixth seal, which you'll find in the book of Revelation. What would you call the book of Revelation? It is a quagmire of Nostradamus-like prophecies, only on a biblical scale. So this would be like is saying, I might not believe in Nostradamus or the things that Nostradamus had to say, but this stuff in the book of Revelation, I buy that because that is my faith. That is where I come from. You ask a Jew if they will believe in the book of the things of the book of Revelation, I go, probably not. Because of the focus of the book of Revelation. Keep in mind also, I'm not going to do a primer on John, who wrote the book of Revelation, but John wrote the book of Revelation in the 90s AD, which means he was one of the youngest disciples of Jesus. He calls himself the best friend of Jesus. He was the friend to Jesus. He's the one that his gospel speaks of Jesus looking down at him from the cross and saying, "Take care of my mother," in so many words. And yet, we have even found that there are interpretations that differ on that he was actually speaking of his own wife being his best friend. So it all depends on the interpretation you look at, how you interpret events. If you take them as literal prophecies, which many people do, or whether you take them as archetypical prophecies, metaphoric prophecies. This is what makes the study of end times and eschatology a very interesting topic. Sarah Yusuf asks in the chat room, isn't Professor Bauer someone who studied eschatology? Yeah. He and I come from very similar backgrounds. We both studied this stuff. Now, he might have a different take. Nowadays, I would love to get his take on how he interprets events now. He, of course, would say we all know how he thinks, those of you who are familiar with this show. And if he sees this, maybe he'll come in to the captain's cabin at the end of this show, which, by the way, because I had somebody ask me earlier today, the captain's cabin, when does that start? I can't find it anywhere. Well, there's no actual captain's cabin link. Captain's Cabin is what happens right here on the video channel, mostly on the YouTube channel, after this show, the Intrepid radio program, goes off air over on Odyssey Radio. And we go off air at 56 minutes and 25 seconds after the top of the hour. Boom, we're gone, but we stay live over on the YouTube channel. And we get a little looser, we let our hair down, and we smoke some of that grassy weed, and we let ourselves meander a bit into philosophy and psychology and things, things we do on the show, but in a different way. So Jeremy Hansen says, I think discernment allows the gifted to understand interpretation between literal or not. And, Jeremy, I think that you're right. Discernment, just the way people would say, which might be in conflict with the way you believe, Jeremy, or others believe that are in that same belief circle. If you say, some people will claim that reincarnation, new lives, and the people who understand what goes on after death and that whole cycle, that whole mode of believing in different lives and going back into the heavens and coming back as something. Some people say they have discernment there. They're the ones who understand it. They're the ones that are discerning enough to understand it and get it. So, Sarah Yusuf says, I come in and I see chaos. No, I come in and cause chaos, she said. Ignorance is bliss. I don't know what you're referring to with that, Sarah, but yeah, there is. Did he say we smoke a grassy tweed? Yes. A grassy tweed. And I wear it with my snap brim hat in my grassy tweed. I'm good with waking up dead, said Leslie Holker. And, well, here's the interesting thing. No matter what you believe on this topic, if something happens, none of us are here able to prevent anything from happening, and really shouldn't be. And remember, there are those who will say that this whole idea of end times prophecy from a biblical point of view are the ones who will say, this is something that God only knows unto himself, that he's revealed certain things. Now, if you remember, there was an old verse that we used to cover in eschatology that says that none of us knows the day or the hour when the return of Christ will happen, the second advent of Christ. And yet, that's what it says, the day and the hour. It doesn't say, curiously, you won't know the week, you won't know the month, you won't know the year, you won't know the season, the overall feel of things. So if you look at the planet now, are we on a collision course with the end times? Is this what we're on? This is the topic I want us to spend a couple of days on, because it's far too big for just talking about in one 50-minute session of radio. And so, what is the sixth seal? If we're in the middle of the sixth seal, what is that thing? You find it in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, 12 through 17 are the verses. Now, by the way, I was going to say about John writing the book of Revelation. Remember, John, he was now at the point he wrote this, the oldest and probably the last living apostle of Jesus, or disciple, original disciple. He's in his 90s. As I used to say, he's in his dotage, living out on the Isle of Patmos in an exile because of his faith, or for his faith. And so he's living out there a lonely life on the Isle of Patmos in his 90s. He can only think back 60 years, 65 years to his time when he was a disciple of Jesus. He was in his mid-20s to 30 years old. He was a young man, maybe even younger than that. And a young man when he was a disciple to Jesus. And now here he is. He's the last one of his kind. It's kind of like, in a way, just as a word picture, think of Luke Skywalker, the elderly Luke Skywalker, out on some island somewhere in one of the last movies they did. He's the last Jedi. And this might be what John felt like about himself on the Isle of Patmos. Even Paul, who you can questionably say was an apostle, he declared himself an apostle. The apostles didn't declare him that. But by his own story, his own account, his own, some people would say, hijacking of Christianity and writing 2/3 of the New Testament. They say that he was in an improper place as an apostle, but he claimed to be one. But Paul's already dead by this time, martyred for the faith. Some say sawn in two inside a hollow log. So, yeah, what does that make Kylo Ren? Let's see. I'm not sure. Pardon my getting over this sickness. So that's a good question. Let's figure that one out. Let's find out where he fits into the analogy here. But isn't Kylo Ren supposed to be a bit of a weirdly pieced together Messiah figure in the movies? So let's take that and push that over there. That's just something else. We'll hop into that analogy if we need to and examine it more. So here's John in his dotage on the Isle of Patmos in a time period where people didn't usually live into their 90s. But here he is, I think, living a fairly bleak existence in exile on the Isle of Patmos. And he has these visions, and he writes them down. And this becomes what we now have as the book of the Revelation. And there's a lot of weirdness in the book of the Revelation. If you start reading Revelation, you're going to see some wild stuff in there. There's things that John writes to the different churches in the different countries and talks about the prophetic times of the churches. There's things he writes then about end times, where he goes through the trumpets and the seals and what else was there? Trumpets, seals, and something else. Off the top of my head, I'm doing that one. And so you start reading through this, and you get the visions of a guy who was either spot on because he was led by God to write the things that he wrote. He was actually inspired by God, very God. Elohim, El Shaddai, El Elyon, God Almighty, Almighty, Omnipotent, God only wise, to write these things down. And that God, through the might of his power, was able to maintain the integrity of the words that John wrote down. John was his vehicle for writing this. If that is your belief system, that is what you believe. Now, there's some who don't believe that at all. So what does that do to the prophecies? It makes them, perhaps to them, as valid or full of holes or watery as Nostradamus is to other people who are skeptics. So look at what you believe. Look at what your belief system is, and ask yourself, does the power of my belief make this an actual thing, a real thing, a thing that's moving forward? Or does it do that despite whatever I may believe? Even if I do not believe any of it, is it still happening? Is it still moving forward? Is it a universal thing that every faith could probably embrace to a certain extent because it's happening no matter what? This was just Christianity's point of view on the coming end times. So it's an interesting study to do. Well, John says this in Revelation chapter 6. He says, I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its late figs when it's shaken by a mighty wind. And so a great earthquake happens at the sixth seal. I looked, and when he opened up the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake. When he opened the seal, cracked this seal open. So following the events of the fifth seal, which we haven't even done a preliminary study into leading up to this, there comes a great earthquake, and the greatest earthquake in history, the famous Lisbon earthquake, which took place on November 1st of 1755, type of an earthquake. So, and you have to notice the accurate historical chronology of these events. 60,000 people died in 6 minutes in the city of Lisbon and the surrounding areas. And the Encyclopedia Britannica estimates the deaths of at least slightly lower figure, but the effects of the earthquake were felt from Scotland to Turkey on the globe. And now the sixth seal. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood. Verse 12 of chapter 6. And on May 19th in 1780 was known as the Great Dark Day in New England, especially. And that night the moon did appear as blood. And so he's trying to put this author is trying to put dates to its Bible Info is the website. And it talks about the stars falling. And the stars of heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its late figs when it's shaken by a mighty wind. Excuse me, I had to cough button myself on that one. So we're talking about the biggest earthquake and biggest things happening. So it mentions the stars falling. So notice that within a very short time, there occurred the most notable earthquake, 1775, the most notable darkening of the sun in 1780, and the most remarkable meteor shower, that of November 13th of 1833. And they came in the exact order mentioned in the Bible. Now, this author goes on and says that these falling stars or meteors came as from one central spot, just as a tree might be shaken and the fruit fly in all directions from it. So these stars radiated from the constellation of Leo, the Lion of Judah, as the book of Revelation refers to Jesus. Now, had these three events, the great earthquake, the dark day, the falling stars, taken place in reverse order, skeptics would never cease telling us about it. But because of the fact that they came in the exact order as mentioned in the scriptures, skeptics should think seriously, change their ways, and become people of faith. Now, for me, I'm going to separate myself for a second as a skeptic. Now, I'm a small s skeptic, not a big S skeptic. I'm a small s skeptic. And I go, now, because an earthquake, a big earthquake, took place in 1775, a year before the American Revolution began. And the sun darkened and the moon looked like blood for a day in 1780, 5 years later. And then another, 50 years later, in 1833, the meteor shower came out of the constellation of Leo. Would that lead me to say, these are the events of the book of Revelation and the sixth seal? I don't know. I'd be a little skeptical of that. Now, as a believer in the faith, I might be somebody who is wholly invested in that. Look. See what just happened. This is exactly what was mentioned in the breaking of the sixth seal. Is it, though? We don't know for sure. Now, I'm not here to criticize and be skeptical of. I'm here to say, look, if we're going to present this, we've got to look at the things that make people believe what they believe. And so we go all the way back to the base question in this. It's the writings of John the Apostle as an old man. Were they led by God? And then that this writ that he put down on parchment, the actual words of an actual prophecy. So Rudy Kessler says the election's been rigged for decades. I don't know if that has anything to do with the opening of the sixth seal. Sarah Yusuf says lions are also representative kings and royalty as well. That's very true. So, and that's the way I tended to look at it. We used to look at who were in the book of Revelation. It talks about the beast that rose out of the ocean with 10 heads. And we used to say back in the 70s, well, this is obviously NATO, the 10 countries of NATO at the time. And so we ascribe to these prophecies all the things that seem to work within our contexts. Remember, Hitler was the Antichrist. Oh, wait, that was Stalin. Oh, wait, that was Obama. Oh, wait, that was... And we have a whole line of antichrists that we as believers had ascribed to certain personages throughout history. Leviathan or Behemoth? I don't remember, Sarah. I got to go look it up. So the great beast. It said it rose out of the sea. So, and then, of course, you've got the whore of Babylon riding on the back of a pig. All these pictures, they're all word pictures of something. Is it John's religiously induced Judeo-Christian satire? I don't think it's satire because there's not a lot of comedy there. Was it his putting word pictures on things? Was he just spilling what God gave him? Was he, as I said before, in his dotage, was he making cool shit up? You know how people said, and the wasps would come out of the sky greater than, and I don't have the passage in front of me. I can't remember how it's written in the text, and they would sting mankind and so on. Well, that's obviously the certain kind of war helicopter is what we were told back in the 70s. Chick tracts. If you ever saw the Chick tracts, we don't know. So all of these things, all I'm trying to do is build a very light foundation for what I'm getting into for tonight. I put as the title of this show, The Four Demons Beneath the Euphrates River. Now, what is this all about? What's this little twist on the picture? Well, let me go on here before I get to that. It also says, by the way, that the sky rolled up as a scroll at the breaking of the seventh seal. But what was the next great event mentioned in the prophecy? It says, the sky receded as a scroll when it was rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. This is Revelation 6:14. So this, of course, is still future, according to this particular writer, and it hasn't happened yet, but it's going to take place in connection with the second coming of Christ, the second advent of Christ, where Christ would come back again. Not the rapture, as those of you are familiar with that. Christ would come back and take up all the faithful, but he would only come part way, just in the clouds. But in the end times, at Armageddon, he would come back as the conquering king with hordes of heavenly host armies behind him. So, according to this guy, we're living between verses 13 and 14 of the 6th chapter of Revelation. And he makes this case based on the certain dates in the 1700s and the 1800s that said these three things happened from this verse. Well, did they? Or were those just natural events? Like I have gotten used to saying, and maybe a lot of us already do believe to a certain extent, we talk about, I remember I had a pastor of mine. This is probably the best illustration I can give it. Good old pastor friend of mine, you've heard me mention him before, John Larson, and Hope Evangelical Free Church. And we called him affectionately Parson Larson, I'd call him. And I remember when I was going through the first stages of the divorce with my now ex-wife. We were divorced, and it was finalized in 2001. Well, this would have been back in 1998 is the first tendrils of this all started. And no, before that, it was 93 and 94. So almost 10 years earlier. And she had disappeared with my children. My twin daughters, who are now 30, were 3 at the time. So 27 years ago. And I remember, and she's throwing out all these audacious charges to try to win a custody battle, prepping the groundwork for a custody battle. All of that is background to say, I remember being in the empty, dark sanctuary of the church on a weekday, and I'm just pacing up and down the main aisle with him, just going through all this stuff that's happening. And I asked him, I said, what is it that God wants me to know out of all of this? Now, keep in mind, this is 27 years ago. So in a very different place, faith-wise, church-wise, practice-wise. I said, what does God want me to know from this? What's the deeper question? What am I supposed to learn from this? And I remember him saying, well, Scotty, he says, maybe that's just not the way God works, which surprised me coming from a pastor. He said, maybe this is just the natural effects of life. And God says, lean on me in your tough times, and I'll be there. There may not be any great lesson, he said. There may not be anything here. He says, everything you learn from, yes. He says, but this might not be anything deeper than this is the shit you got to go through. And how are you going to live? I remember he said to me at that time, he said, all I can tell you after this big, long rant I went through, which, that's so weird for me. But this big, long rant as we're walking through the sanctuary, Jeremy says, reading through the comments, I will tell you I'm finding it very difficult not to hate people, places, things more. We'll get to that in a second, Jeremy. And so I remember at that time, he said to me after I was all done, he says, Scotty, he says, one of two things is going to be true as a result of these events going on in your life. He says, with you and your wife, he says, one, either you're going to be divorced from your wife, or you're going to stay together with your wife. And he said, the big question for you that I, as your pastor, have is, what is your character? What is your character of heart? Where's your integrity? That's what I want you to focus on. And his best advice to me at that time, he says, you're going through stupid times in your life. He says, rely on God and don't do anything stupid, he said. And that was really what drove me, is the action I'm going to take, is the vindictiveness I wanted to act on. Was that something God-driven, or would that be my own stupid response to things? And so I worked very hard to not do stupid things. And so there is the question when it comes to even things of great import, such as biblical prophecy. Am I viewing this as something bigger than it is? Or am I not giving it enough weight? That's the question. And so the question has to go down to our faith in what was written. Do we believe that this is the truth? Do we not believe this is the truth? And it really comes down to, it's either true or it's not true. It's not only, well, he's mostly dead, as Miracle Max would say. He's not dead all the way. He's mostly dead. Same thing. There's no mostly the truth or partially the truth. When it comes to something, it's either true or it's not true. Or there are different weird interpretations to all of it. And we have to start asking, what is it I'm supposed to believe about this stuff? What is it I need to know? And so I wanted to find out a little bit more. Who are these? Right now, the big question that was presented to me. Yeah, sounds like Schrodinger's cat. It does. That's really what you're presented with. And I will put here a personal note, and you've all heard me, if you're a regular to this show, express these things before. I have no problem talking about any of this stuff and examining it and being open to it and learning from it and wondering where my head and my heart are supposed to be on it. But at the same time, I question it. The only reason I question God is because I say, if these things are of such great import, why do we have so many different versions and interpretations of what you said? Why can't you make that clearer for us if it's of eternal import and understanding? And of course, I'm brought back mentally to Isaiah 55. Again, within the Bible, a response to this, but where God says, how much higher are my ways than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts? As the rain comes down from heaven and waters the earth and goes back up again and evaporates. He says, that's how much higher my ways are than your ways. And so you're left saying, am I just supposed to believe this and not have any proof? Not have anything more solid than God said it? And it's in this collection of books that were written about him. That's what we base our faith on. And so Scotty has a way of connecting viewpoints with a theological skill. I'm not sure. Well, thank you, brother. I thought you were pitching in something to help me out with that one. But thank you for saying that. But there's the big question that lays at our feet. And I got to tell you, I am sucked in by the questions of, it's like we used to, the old painting of the story of Jesus before Pontius Pilate. And there's this gorgeous painting that's done. And I know you've seen it before. It's a work of the old masters. I couldn't tell you even who did it. On one side, you're looking out from underneath a pillared, colonnaded, and you're looking out. It's like the governor's balcony overlooking, and you see the crowd out there and the buildings in Jerusalem and the sky, and you see Jesus to the side, and his back is almost to you, and he's bound with his hands behind him. He's wearing the purple robe, off him he's been whipped and so on, or I can't remember all the details, but he's standing there, head kind of bowed, And you see Pilate in the middle, the governor of Judea, the Roman governor. And you don't see much of him. He's bent over, like he's bent over the railing on his balcony, and he's addressing the crowd like this. And you see him from behind. So you see him bent over, you see a bit of his head, and he's got his arm out, pointing back behind him at Jesus. And he said, and I think the painting is Behold the Man, but the whole idea is with that painting was, there he is. And the deeper, more personal question we're supposed to draw from that work of art is, what are you going to do with him? Who is he to you? And so it troubles me that I used to have such a solid answer for that. And now that answer is muddled by not knowing for sure. And so this is the kind of attitude I think many of us come to this, all of this thinking with, is we don't really know for sure. And the only for sure that we possess is the for sure that is from a rock solid faith in something. I used to be so for sure about all of this stuff. And so then sometimes I got to look back and I say, what took away my for sure? Why am I not for sure about this anymore? So, okay, I've got a small child that knows they're not supposed to interrupt during radio time, tapping on my elbow. Is there an emergency?
Good night, I love you.
Oh, good night, I love you too. I'll be up after the show, okay? I love you. All right. See ya. Careful. All right, folks. Familial interlude number 1 for the show. And we've already gotten 47 minutes into the program with a familial interlude. So there you go. Jeremy says, if you have never felt real pain, you have never really loved anything. And there's truth to that. My question would be, and you know what, Jeremy, that goes across different levels of faith, across different, no, quiet now. That's enough. No, you don't. Bye. I'll see you in a few minutes. Goodbye. No, it's not Jeremy the YouTuber. Not that Jeremy the YouTuber. See, that's kids, guys. Those of you with kids, Jeremy, you got kids. Everybody out there, I think most of us have kids. It's like, no, not right now. But I just want to, but I'm going to say it. Here it goes. Here's my question. No, save it. Oh, here it is. Is that the Jeremy from YouTube? Yeah, it's the Jeremy from YouTube. Not the one you're thinking about. Bye. Bye. Not the one she's thinking of, Jeremy. Sorry. You're famous in my little girl's head, and she doesn't know who I'm talking about. All right. Familial interruption number 2. Although it was an extension of familial interruption number 1. So trying to keep this show. And then when my wife is gone out of town and there's no vanguard, there's no bulldog at the door. And even my wife doesn't always have the ability to keep that little one from running in here. Now there's nobody there right now. They're just upstairs. I give them instructions. The 2 girls are here. Mom's gone with Flynn. And so the 2 girls, 10-year-old. Notice the 10-year-old isn't here. You know why? It's clicked in her head. When Dad said something, you don't do it. The 7-year-old is still like, I don't really care what Dad said because I'm going to do what I want to do. Okay, there you go, folks. That's why on a professional radio show like this, you're going to see small children every now and then pop into the screen or onto the microphone. And what you don't see is the 8 minutes prior to that, where I'm trying to hold them at bay, off camera, away from the mic. And if you noticed, if you're watching the video, she crawled on her hands and knees down behind my chair and came up, her head popped up over here. So anyway, there we go. Our kids are first, no matter what. I always think of John F. Kennedy and one of his I don't know who it was. It was either his cabinet members or some council member, kind of chided the president because John, his little boy, 2 years old, 3 years old, would come into the Oval Office and play while they're having huge, foreign policy meetings or something like that. And he's playing under the president's desk. And the guy says, Mr. President, do you think it's proper that your child's here? And JFK responded by saying, wherever I am, my child can be as well. He said, so yes, it's proper. I want him to have access to me at all times. So there's that. I've taken several minutes, a break off of wherever my stream of thought was and consciousness was. But there is a couple of things I wanted to hit quickly. And you notice we haven't really gotten into the main topic yet. Excuse me, which is the 4 demons, or as the Bible puts it, the 4 angels. Yet they're being interpreted as demons that would be unleashed. You think Jeremy Hansen Unleashed is amazing. Wait till you see the 4 angels or demons unleashed during the 6th seal. Jude, which is a small book in the New Testament, verses 6 and 7 says, messengers also, those who did not keep their own principality, but did leave their proper dwelling to a judgment of a great day, in bonds everlasting under darkness he hath kept. As Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them, in like manner to these, having given themselves to whoredom, gone after other flesh, have been set before an example of fire age during. I don't know what that is. This is in a different translation. Oh, I've got it. Pardon my coughing. I've been talking for over 45 minutes, so it wears on my throat today. But if I go to, let's go to that's the Young's literal translation of Jude 6, where it doesn't refer to these beings as angels, but as messengers. But of course, we all know angelos in the Greek is, it talks about messengers. They were messengers from God. And the reason I started looking that up and called up Jude was because it talks about angels who God didn't even hold back judgment from them, but preserved them in the dark places to be released future. He kept them in the future, and he kept them under darkness. There are other references I want us to see. There's I wanted to find out a little bit about the 4 angels in the Euphrates. And Revelation 9:4 talks about, let loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. Now, I didn't get a chance to look this up in the Greek. Remember, there is a difference when you come to speaking of angels and speaking of other beings, in that the English may render as an English word that we understand, but we find out it has a different meaning when you go back to the original language. People go, how can you get to the original language? It's been interpreted so many times. What you do is you go back, there are so many texts that are the original texts that we drew information from. You can go back to some of those texts that are 1,000 years old, 2,000 years old. And you can find words the way they were written in their original state. Even though you might not have the original in John's handwriting, you're going to have something that was copied over during that time. And the big question is, angel, when we see it interpreted in English in some of these texts, is that what it means? Because remember, there was meloch is the angels. We said there was the Greek word for it as well, angelos. Well, meloch in the Hebrew was angel. Melochim, like Elohim, the plurality of that meant angels. Then there were the Elohim, those who were of, like if I look at Genesis 6, chapter 1, and we're talking about the famous Nephilim passage that talks about the Watchers who came down to Earth and had sex with human women. I've seen some passages today where somebody's interpreting that as, and they came down and they took as slaves these women, and they had children by them, these angels, these fallen angels. Well, it doesn't say that. It uses the word Elohim. And in Genesis 6:1, you've heard me talk about this many times, the B'nai Ha-Elohim. That's the verse that's there. The B'nai Ha-Elohim means the sons of the God of many gods. Literal translation. What does that mean? Well, it looks like we're going to have to do that tomorrow. So, because we got to get out of here, at least for the radio audience, we'll talk about more about these 4 demons. I think we've got enough built up that we can actually get there tomorrow and lead off with that. So right now, everyone on the radio station, live long and prosper, and stand by everyone else. We'll be right back.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
Welcome to the captain's cabin. We've never really gone anywhere, but here we are. So, when my voice hurts and it's rugged and raw, that's when I can do me best pirate voice. It is well, we be listening now, and now we're back here and we're going to be talking some more. So, buckle up your swashes. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. So, that's Disney's Tarzan. Cool. I don't know what that is. Listening to Scotty and watching Tarzan. What a combo. Which Tarzan, Barbie D? Johnny Weissmuller, who I grew up with way after the fact of the movies being made, but they were the black and white movies. Reminds me of Peter Pan. Ah, Peter. Yeah, I thought Dustin Hoffman played a great Hook. Who else was Hook in the movies? Wasn't there somebody? What the heck is his name? He was in Star Trek Discovery the first season. He was Malfoy's father in the Harry Potter movies. Johnny Weissmuller. Yeah, loved him, Barbie D. Loved those movies when I was a kid. Where's my memory? What the hell are we talking about? I was trying to make a shot of scotch would be nice, Rudy. Ain't that, I got some right there, but it's not my favorite kind. I've got other kinds over here, but they aren't the best ones. I got some up in the garage, but I'm not going to go get them. So, we were talking about Peter Pan. I can't remember Jason Isaacs. There it is, Sarah. Yep, he played Hook. Wasn't there some other movie where somebody else played Hook as well? And it was very well done. But now I can't think of what it is. And by the way, I mentioned this on Sunday morning, speaking kind of a pirate tone about things. I watched a fun movie with Ellery the other night, Saturday night. Animated movie, which I'd never even heard about until Saturday. I hadn't heard a thing about it. I'm usually pretty up on the big animated movies that were coming out. And this one's called The Sea Beast. And it's set in kind of that late 1600s, early 1700s era of the golden age of the pirates. And but the thing is, and the twist on the fantasy element of the history here was that they were all hunting sea beasts with this certain kingdom. And it was really well done. The first 15 minutes of that movie, solid 15 minutes of that movie, is you're going to feel all the swash, all the buckle, all the adventure of high seas, pirates, privateers, letters of marque from the king, the hunt, the sea battles. All of that takes place in that first 15 minutes in such a gloriously detailed way that you're gonna watch that. And I actually looked at the clock when that scene was over, and I'm like, wow, that was solid 15 minutes of this movie was spent on that. And it was really well done. Now, Susie Q, The Incredible Mr. Limpet, not the same kind of sea beast movie. Oh, how I wish I were a fish. I remember that from when I was a kid. I saw that in the theater when I think I was 5 or 6 years old. Don Knotts in The Incredible Mr. Limpet, where he just wishes he were a fish, and he becomes a Disney animated fish in the film. So, old cat boogs, we're home from the sea. The past unscrolls for us to see. Old cat boogs, just you and me staring ahead to eternity. So, I think you'll really enjoy this animated film, The Sea Beast. And the old ship captain, and he's kind of a good-hearted Ahab type of a captain. And they make it very clear in at the beginning of this movie, the hunters of sea beasts are the good guys, and the sea beasts are really the bad guys. And the guy playing the captain in this, who voiced the captain, I thought, wow, he's got some old Richard Harris overtones to his voice. And I thought, who is that? And it didn't even occur to me that it was somebody who I thought was always a carbon copy of his dad, and that was Jared Harris. He had that same voice as his father. Remember Richard Harris? And you're probably all familiar with who Richard Harris is. He was the original Dumbledore in the Harry Potter movies. He was Camelot back in the 60s. Although Richard Burton began the role on Broadway, it was Richard Harris that picked it up in the movie and the touring. Hey, Sarah, by the way, how you doing?
Hey, Scotty.
Good to see you.
It's been a Monday. You still sound pretty rough.
I'm pretty rough when I start talking. That's it. All day long I'm like, I'm fine, I'm good. But then when I talk to the girls, I'd say, hey, get up here and clean the kitchen. And I'm like, oh boy. So there it is. Who do you think the best sailor or pirate ever? I liked Russell Crowe in Master and Commander. I think he was very good in that. Of course, a different era, but I always think back to Errol Flynn. And many of you don't know this. I named my son after Errol Flynn, believe it or not. For all my wicked, wicked ways, as Errol Flynn would say in the title of his own memoirs of his own life. But for as unsavory a person as he really was, and no, he wasn't unsavory. He was wicked but charming, kind of thing. Flynn, I wanted him to have a name of adventure when I knew I was having my second son. And I said, I'm not going to name him Errol. I said, what a weird name. Go through, you imagine being in school. Hey, Errol. It just sounded weird. But I thought, Flynn, now there's an adventurous name. Flynn. So he's Flynn Liam Roberts. And so he's named after Errol Flynn. That's my favorite. Actually, Errol Flynn, if not me, said Dave Potter. And there it is. So, Errol Flynn is definitely my favorite movie. How about you, Sarah? Do you have a favorite movie swashbuckler?
As far as swashbuckling goes, I mean, my favorite was always Guy Williams' Zorro.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And if you don't place the name Guy Williams, he was the dad, Professor Robinson, in the original Lost in Space from the 60s. Very dashing character. I thought to be playing the role of Will Robinson's dad in kind of a campy, made-for-TV science fiction thing.
Yeah, when I first heard him in Lost in Space, because I always knew him from Zorro before, I said, what happened to his accent? I mean, his voice comes
Yes, he doesn't have that Spanish accent anymore.
Yeah, completely differently. So it's like,
no
he's
longer
an accent. But,
De la Vega. And, and of course I thought, obviously, Antonio Banderas. He played a great Zorro. He was the combination of Guy Williamson, of Tyrone Power, who played the originals. I think he was the original Zorro in the big screen, Tyrone Power. There is, by the way, and Uncle Dave will agree with me on this. This may have been mentioned on the show before. Probably one of the finest choreographed sword fight scenes took place in, I don't know if it was The Mask of Zorro or The Mark of Zorro, with Tyrone Power playing Zorro and Basil Rathbone playing what was his role? The general? The Mexican general. And, you had a prime Englishman who played, Sherlock Holmes all through the movies. And here he is playing the Mexican general. And there was a sword fight scene that was almost uncut, no pun intended, from start to finish. An amazing sword fight scene between those two. Uncle Dave, how you doing? Boy, I got my
Fairbanks Sr. did the first Zorro.
That's right. Douglas Fairbanks Sr. Way back. We're talking way back.
With trampolines and
yes,
lifts so that he could leap over walls, because that's how athletic he was.
Exactly. And you saw some of that even in, with casting Anthony Hopkins as the old Zorro in the movie.
Yes, they used some of the old Fairbanks footage.
Yes, it was just amazing. And there were certain sword fight scenes in that movie, even with Anthony Hopkins, that I said, that looks so much like Anthony Hopkins. It's either him or was it Bob Anderson that choreographed that?
I don't remember the choreographer on that.
Bob Anderson. I might be thinking of the name wrong. He had a simple name like that. He was the choreographer for Errol Flynn. And he was elderly.
Not Bob Anderson.
But But he had something to do with the choreography in the new Zorro, which, believe it or not, the new Zorro is now 30 plus years old.
Was that
30 years
possible?
old, I think.
Seems like it was just yesterday.
That's crazy. And so we always think, when's Antonio Banderas going to do a new Zorro? Well, he's an old man now, so probably not ever again.
Not ever.
So, but I remember some scenes in that where there was a scene where the Anthony Hopkins character at the opening scene where he has that sword fight and he prevents the execution of the innocents and jumps down off the scaffolding, and he's got his sword in the okay, Dave, so what's this position when you go to this? You're down in that's
you're doing an actor's parry too.
The actor's parry too. There you go. And he's going ha ha, ha, and you see him from kind of this elevated angle where he's down there and he's fighting off two guys like this. And but his movements were so well choreographed and so well done. Then there's the scene where at his villa as Don Diego de la Vega, he jumps down onto that broad staircase and he's sword fighting with the governor.
Yeah.
And he jumps down and he lands on the step. I mean, it's not a cutaway or anything. Whoever did that was either I failed to, or I absolutely don't believe that it was actually Hopkins that did that part. It had to be a stunt double, somebody knew what he was doing, and the stance was perfect. I mean, because he leaps through the air and lands on that step, and he's in that perfect, with the
lunge
back center, and he's in a lunge, but his back, you see the big mistake a lot of people make is,
and he doesn't have a broken ankle, so it must have been a stuntman. So
there it is. So there it is. But you see a lot of people that do the mistake.
Patty Crane is the fight choreographer.
Okay. But when they do a lunge and they're leaning over like this, that it was so different. It was like watching Lewis or you when you would do a lunge, where there wasn't the lunge where you're in this position. There's the lunge where you're in this position, and the back is almost erect, but everything else moves forward. And so it was perfectly choreographed and so well done. So anyway, yeah,
Hobbs is my favorite choreographer, I think.
Who?
Hobbs. It's out of England. Okay. He doesn't fly, so you have to go to England to shoot your film if you want him to choreograph.
Do you know, folks, that there was a time, and Sarah, I'm not trying to close you out, just budge in, elbow your way through if you have to.
Well, I was just going to say that it's, it's interesting that even, as time goes on, people need heroes,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
when I was little, it was Sinbad. I thought Sinbad films were the coolest films ever.
Yeah. Whether they're modern day superheroes or,
I know, didn't Tyrone Power played as Sinbad,
Messiahs, there's always that need for a hero because you always have people who are, oppressed by each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do believe Tyrone did some of the Sinbad films. There were a lot of different actors that did those sword and sandal films.
Yeah. Another one of I think the best choreographed, Dave, I'm not even going to say it. You say it. One of the best choreographed sword fights, I think, almost
Princess
in
Bride
history, The Princess Bride. Exactly. If you watch that sword fight scene, guys, between Inigo Montoya, played by Mandy Patinkin, and Carrie Ewell, Dread Pirate Roberts, when they're at the top of that cliff and they have that long sword fight, watch that, just look it up on YouTube and watch that sword fight. That is one of the finest choreographed sword fight scenes in movie history. The Princess Bride, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So
I find that Tybalt does such and such. Oh, but don't you feel that Capaferro cancels that out? And
yes,
just going through all the proper fight masters of the period and the styles that they actually taught. It was brilliantly
And I-
choreographed.
And I liked Mandy Patinkin's response to some of that stuff. He was like, "Oh, well, very well." And what was the line about? Yes, but I'm also proficient with my left hand. You know?
Oh, yeah. There's something I did not tell you. I am not right-handed.
I am not ready. Oh, and neither am I. So
Yeah, it's like what back in the day. You had fight with the body and then fight with wordplay as well.
Yeah.
They had to be
yeah.
clever.
Dave was one taught me. Dave was the guy who sword trained me originally. We're talking 30 years ago. And it was the first I learned that a lot of these guys, and it was news to me, that he said, your left hand, he says, is also used to, you could take off your hat and use your hat to parry away a sword. Whack. And you come in with your thrust or whatever it might be. And I said, I didn't know that. I didn't know they did that.
Oh, there's so many things. One of the favorite fights is sword and found object, and you just go through the room and whatever you can pick up.
Whatever you can pick up.
Yeah.
And
makes it almost sound like a wrestling match. Just
almost a little funnier than that.
Yeah, pick up a chair.
Now the thing about
I always think of it more as a dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The thing that I learned about sword fighting from Dave was God, what was it now? I'm serious. I had a certain thought I was going to expound on, and now it's gone from my head.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. There was something about in the sword fighting that I can't think of what it was. Anyway, Dave, by the way, any of you who've read The Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare, that has in it I accidentally turned on Susie Q's comment there. He could be the old Zorro, still fine. I'm not sure who that is. But,
probably talking about me.
I think it was about me. I'm sure of it. But probably talking about Antonio Banderas being the old Zorro. Yeah, he could do that if the legend passed on from him. But in the book, The Rollicking Adventures of Tam O'Hare, there's a couple of sword fight scenes in that book. And there's one very significant sword fight scene at the end between the Tam and the British sea captain. And Dave sat in a open space, like a driveway or the parking lot or something, and walked through with me and helped me. Bill Locken, who's a friend of ours, had also helped me with this, but Dave helped me with a lot of this, is the moves that would have gone through so I could write about them properly. And so I said, now let's walk through this scene. Here's what happens. I want him to do this. I want him to parry this way. I want him to thrust here. I want him to come in with a punto reverso or, a low thrust, something like that. And so Dave worked out with me all the elements of this scene. And we worked it over and over again so I could actually write it and make it sound right.
Well, so that it was accurate.
And so it was accurate. Exactly. I didn't want the book to just be, I didn't want a sword fight between a rabbit and a ferret to be fake, for God's sake.
So ridiculous.
So ridiculous. And so
clearly the rabbit
that's
has
how
reach.
We worked that out. So we choreographed the fight scene in real life so I could write it. And then we took that to the stage at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival in 2007. I was asked by my friend Carr, who was the artistic director, and he said, come and do Tam O'Hare on the children's stage. And so I would come and he said, and sell your books. So we set up a table with the books and we sat there and I would read this chapter, but I had Dave played
Wayne Grimmer.
And I know it was Wayne, but you played the ferret sea captain.
Yep, I played Frobisher.
And he did these leather masks for me, by the way. And so he put on the mask, and he was Martin Frobisher, the British sea captain, ferret. And Wayne Grimmer, our friend, and also fellow sword fighter of Dave's. He played Tam O'Hare, put on his leather mask, and I walked through as I read the scene dramatically from the book, and then, he yells out this, and that, and he thrusts and parries, and so they would act it out as I was doing it on the stage, and it was for the kids, and I said, there was one thing, Dave, that you caught on very quickly and did every time we did that performance was, I can't remember what it was. Maybe it'll come back to your mind, but I would go, and Frobisher thrust his sword at Tam O'Hare, and Dave would go, ha, like this, and I go, low from a, oh, and so Dave would go, whoop, and he'd go down and go, ah, so they'd have to match what I was reading. So it was a lot of fun. It was awesome times. Rudy remembers that. See, listen, the more I talk, the cloudier my voice gets. It doesn't hurt. It just feels like it hurts. It sounds like it hurts, but it doesn't. It's just worn out. So maybe if I talk softer, I could talk softly. So, Sarah, do tell us about your latest sword experience extravaganza, will you?
Well.
I've taught many women how to fight. Some of my best fighters are women.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Some of them are still.
Well, just so you know, I gotta leave in 10 minutes. So
I probably do too, because my voice is probably not going to hold up another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, we could turn the show over to Rowe, and it could go on for another 4 hours while she asks questions and tells us what she did.
How was Sunday? Because I saw there was
Sunday.
like 2 hours, but I didn't get to watch it.
Went to almost 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 20 minutes. I expected to come on and do a half an hour, and I don't know what took us away on Sunday, but we ended up going 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm like, holy crap. I was
a motorhome full of family heading to a reunion down in Iowa, so I wasn't able to join in, other than a little bit on the chat. So, but it sounded like a good show.
ZQ. I'll do some more honey, as a matter of fact.
I can imagine you with
go ahead, sir.
I said I could imagine you with a big giant desk diary with a quill, just writing your diary to Rainey on what happened while she was gone.
Yeah. I've got this. Where the heck did it go? I thought it was right here. I had it leaning up here. Dave, you may have seen this. I picked up at a garage sale. And now it's not tooled leather or anything. It's just made out of leather. But it's this enormous journal. It's about like this, and a good 1.5 inches thick. And the pages are all yellowed in it, but nothing has ever been written in it. And it used to sit right here. And I, for the life of me, don't know where it is. Otherwise, I'd hold it up. It's black. And I thought, one of these days, I'm going to take that and I'm going to write a story in there and do drawings and stuff.
Awesome.
And fill that whole thing full of watercolor washes, mostly pen and ink, but watercolor for spot colors, and handwrite a whole story out in that.
But I don't want to read you the first page of the log book. So back in the day, I used to keep a log book for Morgan, and there's this long on this day of the Lord, blah blah blah. They use like a paragraph just to say the date, right?
Lord, 1750.
Yeah. So I go through that whole thing, and then I do a big smudge intentionally, and then I go bugger, and then I start over on this day of the.
And ain't that the truth?
And it's the next day, because I'd gotten the date wrong, but then I also had the smudge.
Nice. Smudge. Jeremy said, sometimes it seems like the best experiences in life are the ones remembered, not the ones yet to happen. That's very possible. But then we do our best to try to make something happen. So.
And then we regret it.
Sometimes.
That's just because we're old buggers.
So more 4 Horsemen tomorrow. Are you going to
Yes.
break them down one per day? Or are you just trying
We're gonna. I don't know if I was necessarily going to do the 4 horsemen per se and cover them one by one, but
well, you're never going to get through them all in one show.
Yeah.
Oh, good grief, no. I'll be lucky if I can do one show for
famine,
just one.
pestilence, war, death, all that stuff.
And one rode in as a pale rider. It was death, and I was, no, that was Clint Eastwood. So, good movie, by the way.
It is a good movie.
Best line from that movie. After all these guys, attack him in the town, and he takes them all out with an axe handle from a barrel on the general store porch. And he looks at it and flips it in his hand, and he says, "Nothing better than a good piece of hickory." So, let's see.
Yeah, I'm surprised how much his son Scott looks like him.
Oh yeah,
I'm not. I haven't seen him, I guess. Which is interesting. I don't know what
he's been doing mostly like romance movies. So that's probably why.
Oh, bromance or romance?
Romance.
Oh, okay. Scott Eastwood. Let's just see. Let me take a look at him quick. Scott Eastwood. Oh, yeah, he looks like his dad. Good grief. Yep, he's got his dad's look all right. So, the Euripides is dry in some places already. Oh, the Euphrates. The Euripides is dry. Well,
in some places he's also dry.
What are you smoking over there?
I'm smoking my no glasses and trying to
tweed. Are you smoking that tweed?
I'm smoking that green tweed. So the Euphrates. Yeah, it's something.
Cough medicine.
I'm ODing on cough medicine. What's your drug of choice? Robitussin.
I think it could be like me. You could be hanging upside down tonight. So
there it is. Yeah, that might drain me a bit. We call it in our circles.
That's why I'm not on camera, because I'm hanging upside down, trying to drain the fluid out of my legs.
Yeah.
Try to steam
that's
yourself with
fun.
some Vicks Vapor. If you have some Vicks Vapor Rub, try to steam yourself.
And socks. Vicks Vapor Rub helps.
Yeah.
I've heard.
Yeah.
I just heard that the other day.
Tea tree
Where?
oil.
I don't know.
Huh? Tea tree oil.
Oh, Leslie Stoker on Sunday said something about that. So I've hit a natural lull in the conversation for some reason because I'm going
and now, of course, when we're in the captain's cabin, the girls are nowhere to be found.
Yeah, now they're nowhere. There's no.
Oh, he's doing the captain's cabin. I don't want to interrupt him now.
Well,
I'm balancing out the whole estrogen. So.
Yeah. Well, Ellery came down to say goodnight. And, I don't want to. It's supposed to be a professional radio show, which it's not.
Yeah. But you can't, especially with Rainey gone, you have to be attentive to him.
Well, even when she's here, there's something I want my little girl to grow up and say, "Oh, I remember when I used to interrupt my dad's radio show every day."
Plus, you're taking advantage of the cuteness.
That is better than my dad was nowhere to be found because he was on the radio show all the time.
Right. And that's part of the reason I let them come in originally was because I'm doing radio right at bedtime. Now I started doing the Intrepid radio again on Odyssey when they were a little younger, and 8 o'clock was supposed to be their drop dead time in bed. So I'd have like an hour in between bedtime, and how many days or weeks do you suppose that carried on? Yeah, they've got it redefined up there. But I've got my Vicks and my cough syrup as close at hand, says David Otness. And so, hey, Romeldian, welcome. Jeremy says, the most peaceful moment I ever had was with a guitar on Lake Delavan, Wisconsin, with completely calm waters.
Oh, that
it
sounds
mended
lovely.
My soul. Yeah. And, as silly as some people think this sounds, I learned to play guitar listening to John Denver albums when I was in junior high school.
Denver.
And Denver was probably one of the most amazing studio musicians. And then, of course, he took that into music. And there were a lot of people that made a lot of money off of the songs he wrote.
Yep.
But I learned in 1972 was when I first picked up a guitar. And I remember his song, This Old Guitar, which is an off song that people didn't hear a lot of it.
Yeah.
He sings about how this old guitar taught me to sing the love song, taught me how to laugh and how to cry.
Yeah,
it introduced me to this life of mine and so on. And so the songs he wrote, and he was right in my key. I could sing Denver songs very easily. I could play them very easily. And so I was just mentioning the other day, Rainey found a bunch of record albums, LPs, and I used to collect those. I used to have them, and I sold them all at a garage sale many years ago. And she came home with some records. She goes, "Look what I found for you." This was just before they left, last weekend. And she holds up this John Denver album in perfect, pristine condition with the fold open cover, It's from it was the Wind Song album. And it was all the very famous, I think every one of those songs on that album became his hits. Rocky Mountain High, Poems, Prayers, and Promises, talking about sitting in, Jeremy talking about sitting and passing the pipe around and talking philosophy and all of that stuff. And so all of his big songs were on that album. And so I now have that in pristine shape, an old LP.
Gosh, if you just had a record player.
We do.
Oh, you do?
I actually, last year, we had one that looked like one of the old 30s radios.
Oh, yeah.
And
love those.
And that broke or something. We got rid of it. And so I bought one of the ones for $70, I think they were at. You can get them at Target. You can get them at Michael's and places like that. And the little flat ones. So we play those at Christmas. That's one of our Christmas traditions in the Robert household. We'll trim the tree. The night we trim the tree, we turn on. Here's the changing of times. We turn on the electric or the digital fireplace on Netflix, which plays for 12 hours.
Yeah.
Fire. Yeah, there you go. And but then we'll use the old records and we'll play Christmas music and Bing Crosby and White Christmas and Bob Hope and all the other ones, all those collections they had. Something I got to say too. Something I got to say. The current crop, the current dad can borrow the car keys. Yeah, as soon as your voice changes. You know how all the celebrities would put together these anthology Christmas albums.
Oh yeah.
Like Mariah Carey. Yeah.
Yep, Mariah Carey, the ubiquitous Johnny Mathis. All these other people that have done, from
John Denver did a great one with the Muppets.
Yeah, he did. And but now the new crop, it seems, of famous entertainers in music out there. I've heard some of their Christmas albums over the recent years, and I'm like, what the hell is that mess? Nothing sounded Christmassy. It was all, how many times can I frill my voice?
Well, when people take films like Die Hard and make it a Christmas film, so
I know.
Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah. Still one of my favorite newer Christmas quote unquote songs is I came across it one year and we played it for when we were trimming the tree one year. It was Beavis and Butthead and the Nutcracker Suite. Have you ever heard that?
No.
It goes.
I can imagine.
It starts off. You just hear ding, 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 ding. And in the background, you hear that. Hey, Beavis, this is really cool. Is that Ozzy? Is that Ozzy? No, Beavis, that is not Ozzy. And they're just in the background doing their things. They're no, doing their music thing in the background as it's playing. And I laughed through the whole thing. So look it up, folks, if you want a good piece of Christmas music. Beavis and Butthead, the Nutcracker Suite.
He said
Nutcracker. He said Nutcracker. So,
oh my God.
There's that. Sarah, may I be invasive and ask you, do you celebrate Christmas, or are you like strong Islamic?
Well, I mean, we do like the office Christmas parties and all that stuff.
Right.
Not really at home. Not really. I do that stuff. I mean,
I wondered.
At least for here,
American Muslims. So
yeah, I mean, we do the present giving and all that stuff. But I mean, but for us, it's like Christmas starts earlier every year. Like even this year, this past year we didn't have any hardly any Halloween or Thanksgiving. They already started putting Christmas stuff out. You know, it's like.
That's blasphemous that you skip Halloween and move right to Christmas.
Right. I mean, they had a couple. I mean, we chalked up on bargain candy the day after, but
and to Christmas before Thanksgiving.
We're really going to end up with Christmas in July. I'm saying sooner or later it's going to just keep back further and further. We're going to have Christmas in July, which technically, as I'm told, we're supposed to keep Christmas in our heart.
A little more accurate,
but it fades after the end of February.
I've done a whole thing on a show on Christmas and the story, like from Peanuts is the way many of us remember the Charlie Brown series from the 60s, the Christmas special.
Yeah.
Linus is like, and behold, an angel of the Lord said, lo, and I bring you good tidings of great joy, and so on. And
well, that's we actually watch that every year.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we were Christmas Muslims. Yeah, we watched Charlie Brown's Christmas. What was it that? I did some research into that. The whole thing about the dating, and of course we know the dating of Christmas and the birth of Jesus is all manufactured. It was the church appeasing the pagans whom they were trying to absorb. But there is some interesting history there. And I remember we were talking about this one day in seminary with Dr. Charles Ailing, our seminary professor, our president. And he was saying, he says, archaeologically or anthropologically or historically, he says, for shepherds to be tending flocks of sheep in close to Bethlehem. And of course, he wasn't putting in the caveat, if you believe the story is true or not, because of course he obviously believed it.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that when you have them tending the flocks that close in to Bethlehem, that they could walk from where they were to the manger scene, he said that would have been only one time of year were they in that close to Bethlehem. And that was in preparation for Passover, because he would bring the flocks in so people could buy the sheep to bring to Passover,
right?
For sacrifice at the temple.
Yeah.
And he said, he says, that's one big clue right there. And the rest of the year, he says, they're way out in the boonies. They're a 2 days walk to get into the town. And he says, but here they're right there. And he says, that was a dead giveaway about the timing. So that when is Passover? April, thereabouts, mid-April. The same Passover's the same time you see the Charlton Heston 10 Commandments movie come on TV every year. That's Passover. Oh, yeah. We're such products of pop culture. But so I thought that was interesting. And Jesus was probably Jesus was not a Capricorn.
So watching the 10 Commandments is also one of our family things.
So, I love watching that movie.
Yeah, the Charlton Heston version with Anne Baxter and
yes,
Juan DeCarlo. Yeah,
and their torpedo bras.
The torpedo bras with Anne Baxter and
Yul Brynner,
and of course Yul Brynner was amazing.
Moses.
So it shall be written, so it shall be done. It's crazy how a Russian accent. Yeah, oh yeah, etc., etc., etc. So I liked it.
Yeah.
You liked The King and I, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's fine.
I saw a good movie. I thought was well done, and it was with the Jodie Foster plays the woman who is the school teacher in the musical,
the non-musical version of the King and I,
the dramatic version, and the emperor was played by, is it Chow Yun-fat?
Yes.
Dashing, Taiwanese or whatever he is. You don't touch Taiwan. You stay away from Taiwan. That's the Chinese now. They gave us the virus. Now they're trying to tell us not to go to Taiwan. Anyway, which that's an issue I'm divided on. I'm like, all right, Nancy Pelosi, way to go. Finally did something right. But then there's the other part of me that says, why are we there? Why are we meddling?
Why are we poking the lion?
Yeah. When we're weak.
Let's see if it's asleep. Let's poke it.
Taiwan is the source of all of our, superconductor microchip stuff. So modern stuff, we have to have access, and they have their own secrets on how to make them. So whoever controls that controls the world. So,
and of course it's made in Taiwan, and so I'm sure they're ordered that. That's why they all say made in China. So China owns them.
Well, plus it's that old conflict of the Chinese version of government versus democracy. So
yes, Yuletide, said Barbie D.
So it's like we're trying to impose a democracy on the entire world. So
yes,
other systems may be working, they may not, but
you will be free like we are, or we'll impose sanctions.
Yeah.
So
let's just go back to manufacturing our own crap.
Yeah, I'm all for that. And I find that if you do look close enough, you will see the places we are the most concerned about democracy are the places that affect things that benefit us on a monetary level, some kind of level. I don't even want to get into it because I don't know enough to talk about it cogently. But we all know, if you think and and you watch history, our interests. We're interested in democracy and freedom. No, we're interested in the free flow of oil to the United States, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, if we truly care about not supporting slavery, then we should not be there allowing them to use slave labor to produce products so we can have them cheaper than we can produce them ourselves.
Boom. Exactly.
And ultimately, you're going to have a revolution of, a reprioritization. It's like, we were talking about the 4 horsemen of apocalypse. We could be ending up in a situation where in a famine state, with the way climate change is, and, even it affects the, things in my garden. I mean, I hardly got anything out of it this year, but single tomato yet. So, which is worrying,
Where do you live?
Virginia.
Oh. You're in the.
I used to live in Virginia. Yeah, I lived in Lynchburg, Virginia, for a couple of years.
Yeah, it's a couple hours away.
I was in and out of Bethany, West Virginia, quite a bit for a few years.
Bethany, West Virginia.
Yeah, we don't talk about West Virginia.
There's a Beverly, West Virginia. Carl Mulak, a good friend.
All them Appalachian, they be a different place.
That's right. Carl Mulak bought an old house there in Beverly, West Virginia. That was a Federalist style house. And, you walk into his house, it's like it goes on forever. It looks bigger on the inside than the outside. And it's just, flat front, Federalist style, built pre-Civil War, I believe he said. And you go into, get the main foyer, and then you go into the living room and the dining room. But then you go into rooms beyond those. He goes, and this is my office. He opens this big, thick door. You go into this office, it's all cherry wood paneled, or, original, some of it. And I'm like, oh my God, I could live right here in this room. And so gorgeous house. They got a well. There's actually what do you call it? What is the word in your language? Water flowing from the ground. Spring. I couldn't think of the word spring. You got a spring underneath his house in the crawl space. And that's been there. That's why they built the house there. And they built the house over the spring. And but they've got what is actually the unofficial first battle ever of the American Civil War. And that was the Battle of it's up in the mountain there. I can't even think of the name of it. There's a skirmish or something that took place there. And so we went up there, and you can still see the bullet holes and the scuff marks and the boulders up there. And I can't remember what it's called, but the hospital was another house down the street from him. They've even got guys that had written on the walls, and they've framed and plexiglassed over, writings on the walls at the infirmary there. This old historic house. And so it's pretty cool. All of that from West Virginia. So,
you can practically throw a rock anywhere and hit something historical.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were out there working on a film, and this guy goes, Potter. Now, there were some Potters lived up on the ridge. They ran interference during the war. And I'm like, what war? He's like, well, the Revolution. And I'm like, and you know that now? You know that? I'm like, what?
Everybody knows that.
Why would that be in your frontal lobe? I have no idea.
Yeah, really. Exactly.
Everybody's interrelated, so
Yeah.
That's right. I'm trying to decipher some of the emoticons. Susie Q says to Barbie D, heart Barbie girl. I got that part. Smiley face, crossed swords. Smiley face loves you. What does the crossed sword stand for?
We were talking about sword fighting.
Yeah.
How far back is that?
But crossed swords loves you? Is that what you're saying, Barbie D? Or Susie Q? We're going to start calling you Sarah Y and Davy P. Davy P. No, I don't like that name. Don't call me Davy P.
Oh, I came so close to being called Peter Potter. And one, I don't remember if it was my older brother or somebody talked my mom out of it, because when I was in school, my initials would be PP.
PP. Can't call him that, Ma.
That's not good.
That's not a good name.
Should have vouched for Harry.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to go back in time and
still after we got married, we asked Dylan if he wanted to change his name. Well, we asked both the kids because we were contemplating taking my last name, and he thought about it. He says, yes, I'd like to change my name to Harry Potter. And we're like, we don't change both of them. We just we're just changing the last one. Well, then I'll just keep mine. Okay.
Then yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean that's different in my culture, because in my culture it's all.
I saw the Yuletide, Susie Q. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I mean, in my culture it's always the patrilineal line that gets pushed forward. So since I was born in ye old country, I get my dad's last name. Oh no, I get my dad's middle name as my last name. That's how I ended up being a Yusuf. And then my sisters were born with a different last name than me, so they get his last name because they were born in the States. So with his name, it gets passed a different way. So if they were born in the old country, they would have gotten his middle name as his last name, and then it kind of hopscotches along that lines.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
That was fun. In Luxor once, John Ward's my first time to Luxor. And he goes, Scotty, watch this. We're in town, and he's calling for his guy, Mohammed. And he yells out, Mohammed! 23 heads turn. And he looks at me and goes, eh? He says, good trick, eh?
I mean, that's pretty much the John of the East, you know.
Yes. So, yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
So,
so I gotta run. I will see you guys tomorrow. Yeah.
Awfully good seeing you again. Well, actually, we don't ever see you. We just see the S, but it's a lovely
Look
S.
Look who's talking, Gold Book and Toothbrush.
Hey, I'm hanging upside down tonight. There's a difference. I normally come on, but I'm hanging upside down.
The first thing that comes to mind when I see your icon: golden book, golden pen, golden toothbrush.
It's actually a key. It's a key and a pen and a book. It's the Stuarts. It's actually the Stuarts emblem from the Royal Manticore Navy. I'm the ship's steward. Actually, I'm a fleet steward. But
is there anything you haven't done?
No.
Let's see.
Not a lot.
Linda Schaefer. Sore pain. Sorry about that.
All right, I'm out of here.
The bane of my existence.
See you, Sarah. Thanks for being here. All right. It's just the boys now. For a couple of minutes anyway. We might as well drag it out for 8 minutes and make it to 11 o'clock.
All right.
So we can actually get a full captain's cabin. So, nee much. I have no idea what that means.
I can't see the
I can see it.
Chat room, so.
Oh, I can see it.
Yeah. So the motorhome went out on its first outing. And
what did?
The motorhome.
Oh, how'd that go?
Good. Handles well. I'm happy with it.
Good.
And the new couch is in, the new seat belts are in, all that stuff.
All right.
Got the new queen size bed in back and all that going, and yeah.
Nice.
So that's all good. I haven't loaded the scotch yet.
Like a Jewish dad over here.
Nice.
That's fine. Good. It cost you all right? You okay? Did you make out good financially?
I did. I did very well financially.
Well, that's good. Mishug. All right. What do we got? Oh my goodness, it means good night. Oh, Nini means good night? Nini much? I thought it was like Nini much. It's like, you don't get no Nini, do you? Nini much? Well, I don't know. I am sheltered. Oh my goodness, I need another hit of something opiatic. You know what I want to do for a living, Dad? I want to become the owner of an opium den.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's aspiring, young man.
Gonna spend a lot on silk cushions. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Velvet. I see mine in velvet.
Well, you got to carry an Asian theme if you really want to have quality opium.
Well, the British had good opium dens, but I suppose a good opium den, we would have to hire a good Asian man for that. That's the front man. Do you put him in the little, what do they call it, like the bellhop hat and the robe that's all embroidered? And how did they dress? What are you going for to Halloween as? Why, I'm the owner of an opium den.
I figured out the perfect costume for Rowan.
What?
A really short little mini skirt.
No.
No, I'm gonna dress her in a TOS Star Trek dress. You can't say no to it
absolutely.
Because you can't get much shorter as far as a skirt goes, but you won't say no to it because it's TOS.
I can't say no to that. I would love to see Rainey do. There was a doctor, one of the characters, and I can't think of what her name is.
The brunette?
She was brunette in one of the original series episodes.
Blue dress.
The blue uniform.
Isn't she the one from Mirror Mirror? The one that's
no
Kirk's
no, because she was Hispanic. That one.
No,
this
she
one
wasn't.
Is Dr. Helen. I'm trying to think. Star Trek, Dr. Helen. Let's see what. Yeah, there she is, Dr. Helen Noel. And Dave, I wish you could see this, but folks, those of you at home, this is what Dr. Noel looked like. And every time I see a picture of her, I think that is so Rainy. It's a good one, but it only goes down to the waist. You don't see her. At first you see her, she's standing on the transporter pad and she's beamed in. And okay, guys, I got to show you this. This is.
Do they play the Star Trek incidental love theme?
This was Dagger of the Mind, by the way. Dagger of the Mind. Oh, the love song. No, that was This Side of Paradise with Spock. But hold on. This is Dr. Helen Noel. This is not the best picture of her. But here, I'm going to share my screen. Dave, can you see the screen at all?
What I'm doing is I'm bringing it up on my tablet. I'm opening YouTube so I can.
Okay, yeah, look up. Well, here, I'll share it, folks. This is who Rainey could cosplay from the original Trek, and I've insisted on this for years. When I first met her, I was like, "Oh, you could be Dr. Helen Noel."
Okay.
She's like, "What?"
I'm now seeing the show on 2 devices.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen. Boom, share, and we'll go over here to Dr. Helen Noel. There she is.
Huh.
What else we got?
Oh, yeah.
The dumb fan pictures that people do. Hold on here. That's her. I thought there was another page of shots. Here we go. This is the one I looked at and I said, this is Rainy. I mean, hello? Is it going to come up or not? There it is. Who played Dr. Helen Noel? And that was Mariana Hill. And she was born in 1942. So she's the same age as my mom now. But that's her right there. And I thought that is quintessentially Rainy. Right there.
Yep.
And so I want to get Rainy that's a fake picture. That's not really her. Here, even there, you can see Rainy in that. So the one over on the big one over on the right here.
What the heck are you looking at?
That was this one. Yeah, that's fan pictures. People that make these stupid pictures, and you go, seriously? There she is in the big shot. Trying to see the woman you were thinking of was this woman who played well, that didn't help any. This Hispanic one, I can't think of her name. Mirror Mirror, Dagger of the Mind, Mariana Hill, Helen Noel, Marlena Moreau played the captain's
woman. Is she
woman.
Italian?
But maybe she is.
I think she's more Italian. Mediterranean.
Might be. I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't know nothing. But anyway, that's who Rainy needs to cosplay. That's so I can get her in a blue velour me skirt, and get her a tricorder, and she's Dr. Helen Noel. Boom! There you go, folks. All right, let me get back to the show. I'm going to stop sharing. There you go. I'm not going to share anymore. So, hey, field guy, how you doing? Haven't seen you for a while.
Hey, field guy.
It seems like I haven't seen you for a while. So, Oh my goodness, it means good night. Oh, nine-nine. That's what we're saying, not Nini. Nine-nine. Nine-nine. I thought you were saying Nini, folks. It's like, what's Nini? All right.
He's slow, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for him. He's always been that way.
Slow tonight. And
you'll make comments online while you're doing your show. I will comment immediately as you're saying that, and then you don't look at the text for like 20 minutes, and then you're like, I don't understand what that means. It was about a comment.
I know what you're talking about, Dave.
Like,
what the hell was that
related to what you were saying 20 minutes ago?
Hey, Michelle Cannon Free. Nice
and all you have to do is roll your eyes to the right a little bit to see that screen, and it's like you completely ignore that it's there.
I'm so into it, it's got to catch my eye, and sometimes I'll see it scroll, and I'll go, "Oh, did somebody just say something?"
What you need to do is when you start the show, glance over there as you start your initial comments, because if your mic is down, it only takes us about 2 seconds to write the word. Yeah. Muted.
I haven't done the muted mic thing for at least a day or two, so shut
tomorrow.
Up. Mm-hmm. I now just sit with my finger on the button, waiting for the title to go by, and so I can port it up. So, all right, guys, guess what time it is?
Well,
it's 11:01 Central Standard Time. So we're going to get out of here. Dave, I will see you tomorrow.
All right.
You have a good night, brother.
Good night, man.
All right. And folks, that's it. That's all we got. As a matter of fact, gave you more than we got tonight, which was pretty amazing, I think. So we're going to get out of here. And I thank you for being here. Thanks for your time. And thank you for showing up. It's fun. So until tomorrow, live long and prosper.